The Many Problems of Luka Erebi, including one Wren Vespula. Chapter 6. Luka finally says it. Luka didn't get a response back from Bellamy. She didn't have a reassurance that Bellamy would show. Yet here she was, standing in the train station closest to their apartment, waiting near the platform gates. If Bellamy saw her text, she could easily walk over from school. If she went somewhere far, then she would end up at this station on her way home. Bellamy still hadn't sent a message back, so whatever she was doing, it must have been important. Luka had been pacing back and forth the station for over an hour. The pacing only stopped when she got questioned by some of the police on patrol. It wasn't uncommon for the police to approach people. Luka wasn't special. Usually, when she explained her situation, they would leave her alone. However, after what Wren told her, and after her searches on Insecta, she was now hyper-aware to the things she always thought was normal. "Hello, miss. Mind letting us know which station you're heading to?" The two policemen had on a pacifying tone, but it didn't make Luka any less nervous at the sight of the rifles slung over their shoulders. Her heart skipped a beat when she noticed one of the men place their hand on the holster. Last summer, she remembered her cousins from China talking about how crazy it was for the Insecta police to be so militarized. They even joked that Insecta managed to one-up the United States. Luka wasn't sure what that meant. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm just waiting for someone," Luka said to the two policemen. I swear." They looked at each other, then at her. Sweat trickled down her neck, a rather incredible feat considering the temperature had gone below 10 degrees. Maybe because she was so nervous, they found her suspicious. The man on the right said, "A person reported that you've been here for an hour. Are you sure they're coming?" "Who's been watching me for an hour?" Her heart was thumping so hard she could hear it in her ears. She gulped, hoping to swallow the shallow breaths that were desperate to break through. It was no use. Luka faltered, taking a step back. It must have given the policeman the wrong signal, because their gentle expression hardened. "Luka!" The voice came from behind, one that actually managed to pacify her tense chest. Bellamy ran over, her cheeks pink from the cold, breath coming out in small clouds. She grabbed her hand. "I'm sorry, have you been waiting long?" "Oh, not really." She glanced at the men, who seemed surprised that she was actually waiting for someone, or at least, that was what she assumed. They gave her a quick apology and continued on with their patrol. Bellamy's grip tightened, almost like she knew how much Luka had been shaking. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine now," Luka replied. She gave Bellamy a small smile, hoping that would convince her. It didn't. "This thing that you wanted to talk to me about, is it the same one from this morning?" Luka should have known she was still thinking about it. She took in a deep breath. Since she was here, she might as well say it. Well, maybe not here. "Let's get out of here first," Luka said. "There's a cafe nearby." "Sure." They made their way to a small coffee shop that was right outside the train station. Once they walked up the stairs and onto the ground floor, it was the first thing they saw. Despite the shop being in their final hour, there were still plenty of people sitting inside. The dim light and dark wood setting gave this place an almost library atmosphere. Bellamy went to order, while Luka took a seat at a two-person table. Only when they separated did Luka notice Bellamy had held her hand the whole way here. Maybe this was her way of comforting Luka. It certainly worked. Although, now all Luka can think was how soft Bellamy's hand was and what lotion she used. She'd be lying if she didn't think Bellamy was a pretty woman, whether it was just genetics or her lavish upbringing. Or maybe both. Once everything was in order, Bellamy sitting opposite Luka and the both of them with a drink in hand, Luka finally asked Bellamy what lotion she used. Bellamy tilted her head. "I use Jezebel." "That's like the most expensive brand here." "Wait, this isn't what I was supposed to ask her?" I'm just delaying the inevitable." Another deep breath in. Luka steeled herself. "I need you to promise me that you won't tell Wren about this." Bellamy stayed quiet, her blue eyes dropping to her drink. But Luka needed to hear it from her, so she repeated, "Okay, I promise." Bellamy said. Finally, for real this time, Luka told Bellamy about what she'd been going through for the past week. What? Bellamy was aghast. Have you told Mr. Holt about this? Yeah, he said I should be happy I'm getting free lunch. Bellamy frowned. Her cheeks puffed. Oh, the nerve of that man! I'm going to file a complaint to the housing office. Bellamy was close to saying something like, Wait, no, don't do it. That's too much trouble. But considering what she heard from Mr. Holt, she wasn't going to worry too much if Bellamy did it. Are you sure you don't want me to tell Wren about it? She wakes up really early, so she can keep an eye out. She just moved back and is starting her new job. I'd rather not give her more things to juggle. How could Luka, the girl who caused so much trouble for Wren back then, be daring enough to ask her for help? She even yelped and called her a wasp when she saw her yesterday. I must have hurt her when I said that, and I haven't even made a proper apology. Besides, I feel much better now that I've told you about it. Her psychology professor was right. Just talking to Bellamy helped ease her mental stress, though the opposite could be said for Bellamy herself. I'd feel better when you don't have to deal with this anymore, Bellamy sulked. Luka didn't know what to say to that, so she stayed quiet and finished the rest of her tea. They left the shop just a couple of minutes before closing and began walking home. Luka noticed Bellamy was holding her hand again. The warmth gave her enough courage to brave through this cold with only a button up. It did make her wonder, would anyone mistake them for being girlfriends? Especially those who attended Lotus Academy. Bellamy was a hot topic for her male classmates in the computer science branch. According to them, she was the woman of their dreams. Blonde hair, blue eyes, an enticing smile, kind to almost everyone, and incredibly out of their realm. Luka wasn't much for gossip, but she had to agree with them. Now that she knew how influential the House of Apis was, she wasn't sure if she had the right to be Bellamy's friend. Yet here she was, walking home and holding hands with her. Say, Bellamy, She turned, giving her full attention to Luka. This might sound dumb, but I finally realized you're from the House of Apis. Really? Her voice was low, her eyes now gazing ahead. Yeah, I don't fully understand what that all means. I was quite surprised when I saw your family name on the list. And? Luka gawked. It seemed like Bellamy wanted her to get to the point. The point being, maybe Luka wasn't worthy. She was just a lowly citizen. Oh, I guess that's why we get along so well. Bellamy's voice rang in her head. Suddenly, Luka grasped what she meant. The reason why they became friends in the first place was because Luka had no idea. People admired Bellamy, yet kept their distance. Luka shook her head and smiled. Nothing, really. I just thought it was pretty cool. Bellamy giggled, delivering a smile that could make anyone fall for her. My family is pretty cool. I love them. Luka swore her heart skipped a beat. She readjusted her grip, her thumb tracing over Bellamy's delicate skin. While inside her mind, she thought, her smile always reminded me of someone, and I never knew who until now. It was Wren. The third time was not the charm, apparently. Luka didn't find a lunchbox outside her home, and here she was, braced for another one that never came. Could this mean her stalker had gotten bored of her? Or maybe they saw her throw yesterday's lunch and figured Luka wasn't interested? Maybe it wasn't a stalker and just a socially awkward person who might have had a crush on her. While Luka deluded herself, she heard the door to 206 open. She poked her head out, assuming it was Mosca who was coming out. She was wrong. A man in a dark suit appeared, his cutting gaze locked onto her almost instantly. Luka couldn't hold in her squeal. How could she? A man 30 centimeters taller than her was glaring at her like she was an unwanted moth. She hadn't expected this from a man she assumed was mild and inattentive. Bam! Luka slammed the door shut. It probably wasn't the best idea. Still, she had no plan to speak with the man. He didn't even thank her for saving his wife's life that night. Not that she was looking for appreciation, since she would have brushed it aside. However, because he didn't, that was all she could think about. A shadow covered the light coming from the slit of her door. Luka pressed her palm against her mouth, knowing that she would have yelped if she didn't. Who was it? Was it that man? Why wasn't he knocking? A bitter dread seeped through the gaps of her door. It froze her in place. She stared at the peephole, a small wave of relief washing over her when she saw it was covered. Although it was immediately overwhelmed by another thought. If she didn't have her blocker, would they be staring at her? The shadow eventually moved on, taking the taut atmosphere with it. Luka put down her hand and let out a breath so long it almost left her empty. She looked at her fingers, still trembling. She shoved them in her navy blue jacket. Class was starting in 20 minutes. Luka couldn't miss it. Lotus Academy kept attendance records, something her father looked over every week. She still remembered last year when she missed one class and got an earful from him. "The next time this happens," he said, "don't rely on me to pay for your apartment." She needed to move. Her rooted legs refused. So, she did the next best thing. She called Bellamy. The call rang once, then twice. "Come on, Bellamy." It seemed the third time was the charm after all. "Hey!" Bellamy's voice rang through the phone. "What's up?" Bellamy, are you already at school?" "Mm-hmm." "Oh, do you know if Wren is still at home?" "I know I shouldn't bother Wren, but I really need to get to class." "She might be. Can you call her and ask her to come to my place?" "Huh? You can just knock." Bellamy paused, then asked, "Is everything okay?" Luka's lips pursed. "Can you please do it for me?" "All right, I'll let her know. Thank you." Just the confirmation helped Luka's rooted legs unravel themselves from the wooden floor. She could pace around now at least. Heading to the door wasn't an option still. It only took a painstaking 5 minutes before she heard a knock at the door. She walked over and peered through the peephole to see that it was Wren. She opened the door, so relieved that she didn't fret over Wren's annoyed look. Wren had her hair up again. Luka craned her neck and stared at Wren's many silver piercings on her left ear, noting the two connected with chains. She couldn't fathom the fact that the woman in front of her had grown so much taller. Then again, she couldn't expect her to stay little, not after 10 years. "What do you want?" Wren asked. Can you walk me to Lotus Academy? If you're not busy." Wren clicked her tongue. She was no stranger to expressing her irritation, but she didn't say no. Fine. Let's get this over with." End of chapter 6. It was a situation so tense that Luka immediately forgets about not bothering Wren. Don't miss their time together, and subscribe.